Hi, this is Chris with Virtual Pokemon League. I'm here with another deck intro. This is a deck that uses Victini to load up Giratina and Garchomp. We make pictures of all of our decks. This is the picture here. We call it Victory Deck because of the victory sign attack we use in Victini. There's Victini, there's Weezing, and then there's Garchomp. That's our picture. Alright, let me tell you a little bit about how this deck is meant to work, and then I'll explain all the cards. This is a more complicated deck, so if you're a beginner in Pokemon, this probably isn't the deck for you. But if you're not, this would be a really interesting combo deck. Victini is not our main attacker, but he's the person we love to start with. This is our setup guy. Ideally, what we would do turn one is have Victini in the active position, and then have Giratina and Garchomp on the bench, at least one of them. Giratina and Garchomp can do linear attack for 1 energy, but requires 3 energy to do this huge attack called Calamitous Slash. It requires a psychic and a fighting energy plus another colorless energy. And what it does is 160 damage. If the opponent's Pokemon have any damage counters on it, it does 240. So huge damage from this guy for just 3 energy. And then GG end, 2 psychic and 1 fighting, and you can discard your opponent's Pokemon and any cards attached to it. So it's awesome to just rid the opponent of, if they have one Pokemon that has a ton of energy attached to it, you just discard it all. And sometimes they can't even get that back. So that's an amazing attack. But how are we going to get this charged up with a fighting, a psychic, and a colorless? Victini does that. For 1 fire energy, Victini has this victory sign attack that allows you to search your deck for 2 basic energy of different types and attach it to one of your Pokemon, attach it to your Pokemon any way you like. So the idea is you get Victini out, turn 1, you attach a fire energy to Victini, and then you do victory sign. And then you load up a Giratina and Garchomp. You search your deck for a psychic energy and for a fighting energy. You attach it there. That's the first turn, your first attack. It doesn't matter if Victini goes out. Whatever you do, the goal is to get Victini out, either discarded because they knock it out, or somehow in the discard pile, and you get your Giratina and Garchomp up, and you attach one of any type of energy you want that we have in this deck. A fire, a fighting, or a psychic. Sorry, it doesn't matter which one you do. Once you add it, then you can start doing this Calamitous Slash for big damage. Now, how do we make even more damage done by this Calamitous Slash? We need to spread damage on our opponent's Pokemon. So before we do this attack, during one of our first 2 turns, we need to spread damage. And how are we going to do that? That's with Roxy and Weezing or Coughing. And so I'll explain that in a little bit. But there's the basic idea. Then the idea is you keep this going. You keep up this attack. Now, one thing you can do is once this gets knocked out, you can bring up this Victini or find another one in the meantime, load it up, get this loaded up, load up the Giratina and Garchomp. It doesn't matter if this guy goes out, and then you have another Giratina and Garchomp to do more damage. And if you have 2 Victinis go out, that's 2 prizes. This Giratina and Garchomp, that's 3 more prizes, so that's 5 total. You still have a tag team left when the opponent has 1 prize card. So it's great math. It makes your opponent take 8 prizes for this deck. But you're willing to sacrifice 1 or 2 Victinis in order to make this happen. Okay, so that's the idea. How are we going to make this happen? The main person we're using is Green's Exploration. None of our Pokemon have any abilities, and so you can use Green's Exploration. You can use it only if you have no abilities. You can play this during your turn. It's your supporter, and you can search your deck for 2 trainer cards. And so this gets you set up perfectly. Either you can do something like search for a switch to get your Victini down, or you can find a whole bunch of other trainer cards. And so we've given a whole variety of cards that you can search for with Green's Exploration. We play 4 of those. We also need to set up super quickly and set up as best as we can. So we have Victini. We play 3 of them. We play 3 Giratina and Garchomp. We also have 4 Quick Balls here to find a basic Pokemon, especially that Victini early on. We really want to find the Quick Balls for those. And 3 Tag Calls, so we can find our Giratina and Garchomp Maybe we can try to find a tag team supporter. We have 2 Cynthia and Caitlin's in the deck, and so we can get more cards if we really don't have any other good draws in our hand. So that's the idea, to get set up in this way as best as possible. It's awesome to have a Victini, starting off with a Victini, and then get a tag call so you can get 2 of these on your bench. We also need to spread damage on our opponent so that when we do the Calamitous Slash, we do 240 instead of 160, and that's what the Roxys are supposed to do. So there's 4 Roxys. And we also have 4 Wheezing. They're the stage 1, and 1 Coughing. It's the basic. We don't want to start with that Coughing on our bench as much as we can. So we mostly play these stage 1s that we can't play down to our bench in the first place. The only reason I play 1 Coughing is so we can search it out with a Quick Ball in case we already have the cards that we need. Eventually we're going to get another Quick Ball in our hand, and we want to be able to use it for something like the Coughing. So that's the idea. And then we use the Wheezing and Coughing. The idea is that all of these, the Wheezing and the Coughing, all have Blow Away Bomb as the ability, and here's what it does. It says that if these Pokemon are discarded with the effect of Roxy, then you put 1 damage counter on every one of your opponent's Pokemon in play. And Roxy says if you discard a Pokemon that's not a GX or EX, then you can discard up to 2, and for each one you put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So the idea is to get these Coughings and Wheezings in your hand, plus a Roxy, and then you can discard the Coughing and Wheezing with the Roxy, spread damage so your Calamitous Slash does more. You can use the Green's Exploration to set that up. So if you've already got a pretty good setup, you can grab a Roxy, and you can grab a Mysterious Treasure. And then you can use the Mysterious Treasure to get a Wheezing or a Coughing, and because Mysterious Treasure, you discard a card, get a Psychic Pokemon, and then you discard it with Roxy, and you spread damage, setting up that big attack with Giratina and Garchomp. This deck is also really good against decks with a little bit like Malamars on the bench, or Amolgas on the bench, because you can really spread that damage out. They're little guys on the bench, so it's easy to knock them out. And on those kinds of decks, the best strategy is to keep this Roxy Wheezing engine going, get a lot of cards, and then just do this little linear attack. For 1 energy at all, you can do 4 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So the idea is you spread the damage on the bench. You basically don't even need the Victini. You bring the Giratina and Garchomp up, you put 1 energy on it, and you just start hitting those little guys on the bench while spreading damage, and it spreads a lot of damage. It can take a lot of big knockouts on the little guys on the bench. Lure Balls allow you to flip 3 coins, and for each heads, you take a Evolution Pokemon from your discard pile and put it into your hand. So once we've discarded Wheezings with the effect of Roxy, we can try to find a Lure Ball with our greens, or just maybe we draw it, and then we can immediately start, for the next turn, we can start flipping heads and getting our Wheezings back and trying to find another Roxy. So once you've used the Wheezing Roxy and you have a greens and you're already set up, it's a good idea to use the greens again, if you can, to get another Roxy and a Lure Ball, and that will allow you to keep that going and spread more damage. Pokegears are in case we really need a Roxy and we've got a greens in our hand or something like that, just to allow us to keep the engine going a little bit more. Search our top 7 cards of our deck and grab a supporter card we find there, which is the Roxy or the greens, and then and put that in our hand. Okay, so that's the engine to find cards that we need and to spread the damage in order to do these big attacks. It's really important that the first attack we can get this Victini up here with the energy. So how are we going to do that? We have Viridian Forest to do that. And so we can try to search it out. Sometimes the opponent plays a Chaotic Swell, and so we can't play, it prevents us from playing a Stadium card. Then we go find our Energy Spinner with our Greens Exploration. And so we can use the Energy Spinner to find that fire. So sometimes you find yourself on the first turn maybe you start with a Giratina Garchomp. What you do is you use your greens to get an Energy Spinner and a Switch card. And your Switch allows you to switch down your Energy Spinner, you find the fire, and then you can load up your Giratina and Garchomp. Get yourself set up for the first turn. And then after that, you just see what happens. All right, so we also have a little tag call engine. We've got our tag calls here that allow us to get these cards out, but we also sometimes want some extra supporters. I play Guzma and Hala in here just so we can get our stadium up quickly. I would take this out. So this is just a wild card. I should replace that with something else. Probably another Mallow and Lana, honestly. Mallow and Lana allows you to heal, so that's really great. And then Cynthia and Caitlin, if you play it the next turn, you can get this Mallow and Lana out of your discard pile and put it in your hand, and then heal the next turn. Probably what I do is I should play 2 Mallow and Lanas, 2 Cynthia and Caitlins. So if you run across another tag call and you're set up and you're going pretty well and you're getting hit with your Giratina and Garchomp and they can't one-shot you, you just Mallow and Lana switch. Sometimes you can Mallow and Lana switch from your Giratina and Garchomp that's injured into your Victini. And just go ahead and load up another Giratina and Garchomp, let them try to knock out your Victini, and then you're ready to go with a 2 healed Giratina and Garchomps. Once you get hit with a Giratina and Garchomp and you're not knocked out, that's a great time to start Mallow and Lana. We've got 2 switch because they're 2 switch and 1 escape board. The switch is super important. That's because if you're stuck with your Giratina and Garchomp and you have a switch prize, you really need to switch out of it so you can load it up with the Victini. That's why I play 2 of them. The escape board is basically for the Victini. So if you got the Victini up and you need to retreat, it's great to use the escape board to retreat because then you can just, anytime you get knocked out here, you can bring it up pretty easily. And if they need to take a turn off for some reason, then you can just keep your Victini. And it's great in case you're playing against a Pika Rom that's using a Raichu and a Alolan Raichu, and so they paralyze you or something. I don't know, something like that. What else do we have here? So this is all the energy we play. We play 4 Psychic Energy, 3 Fighting Energy. It's more important to have the Psychic Energy. And 3 Fire Energy. This is just to make sure that we have them. And we almost always run into some sort of energy or other at the very first turn of the game. Also play a counter game. So this is if they got a really hard-hitting, super fast beginning deck or something like that. This counter game is especially important. I'll explain that in a bit. We run 3 Victinis. I got an extra Giratina and Garchomp in case the other one, in case one of them is prized. I also run this Blacephalon. So this is great against spread decks. So suppose you're playing against a Malamar kind of deck, a Malamar Giratina deck. You've got your Victini, you loaded up your Giratina Garchomp or something like that. Or suppose you just got this up. It doesn't matter. So suppose you got this up into the active, and it's starting, you're spreading damage with the Weezings. You're also doing linear attacks. You're spreading other damage, and they knock this out. What you could have been doing while you're hitting them with this Giratina and Garchomp is to have the Blacephalon on the bench. Try to use a Viridian Forest or something to get a Psychic Energy here in the meantime. And if you can do that, once this guy is knocked out, you bring up your Blacephalon when they have 3 prizes left. If your Victini survive, this is perfect. You bring up your Blacephalon. If they took 3 prizes before you've taken them, because you're just spreading damage, you haven't knocked anyone out, you just put the counter gain on there. And then you can take 4 or 5 prizes in one turn with this guy if you just plan your damage, your spread damage accordingly. And then we've got some extra disruptive cards. We've got a Pokemon catcher, so we can try to gust up from their bench to their active Pokemon. Some Pokemon that's not a GX or EX. Maybe it's a Mew deck, or maybe it's a Mew, and we just can't do our linear attack to their bench or something. We can try to gust it up with the Pokemon catcher. Maybe it's a card like Minccino, a Chinchino, maybe it's a Persian or something like that that's giving energy to their Esper deck. Maybe it's a Magnezone that's powering their electric deck. You can try to gust it up with this one. We've got a great catcher to gust up to Dines and take 2 easy prizes. Again, Giratina Garchomp does 160 base damage even if there's no damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. So that's enough to knock out a Dedenne for 2 prizes. We've got a Giant Bomb here. This, you can attach it, so if you get hit for over 180, if they're going to one-shot you, or they got a big Lapras VMAX or something like that, you can put the Giant Bomb on the Giratina Garchomp and just hit, and if they knock you out, you put 10 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. It's a great way to follow up with more damage. And then we've got a reset stamp. So this is in case they're just building up super huge. You know they've got big things coming. You can just reset them, and it really helps you out. So that's what we've got. There are a lot of options here. And with a greens deck, usually you have so much options for your trainers and routes that you can go. But I hope I've explained what you want to try to do eventually. Decisions are hard. Sometimes it's hard to decide whether you want to try to disrupt them or whether you're going to try to switch out of something or wait an extra turn, whether you want to go for this Roxy Weezing to set yourself up for the next turn, or whether you want to try to do something this turn, those decisions are why this is not really a beginner deck. The last thing I want to mention is that we've got one Shrine of Punishment in here. And so you can search this out with your greens, and this basically puts a damage counter on each of your, every person's GX Pokemon. Now, why would you do this? Suppose we've got a big 280 HP Pokemon from your opponent, and suppose you can spread 2 damage counters all over their Pokemon with your Weezings and your Roxy. Your Giratina and Garchomp can do 240. You need 2 extra damage counters on them. And if you just can't quite get there, you can play the Shrine. You're going to take some damage yourself, but you get enough damage to knock them out, and sometimes that can mean the game. So there's my explanation of this a little bit of complicated deck, but hopefully you'll see some gameplay with us do this in League, and you can see how it works. Thanks for watching.